If he's out there, why hasn't he found me yet? If that question has ever kept you up at night, you're not alone. You're doing the inner work, you're showing up, and you're not settling. So why does it feel like love is skipping over you? Here's the truth most people won't tell you. It's not because you're not beautiful enough, smart enough, or loving enough. And it's definitely not because you're too much for the right man. It's because the man of your dreams doesn't find you through luck. He finds you through alignment. And alignment begins the moment you stop chasing and start becoming. Most women are unconsciously sending signals that say, I don't fully believe I deserve him yet. That energy. Men feel it, especially high-value ones. The emotionally available, masculine, ready to commit man you're waiting for. He's looking for a woman who's already chosen herself first. That's where this video comes in. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 unseen keys that shift your energy, awaken your magnetism, and make you absolutely unforgettable to the right man, without chasing, guessing, or begging for attention. This isn't about tricks, scripts, or manipulation. It's about truth, clarity, and power. So, if you're tired of being overlooked, ghosted, or attracting men who don't match your heart, stay with me. What you're about to hear could be the moment everything in your love life finally shifts, because he will find you when you remember who you are. Let's start with the first and most powerful key, embodying magnetic feminine energy. Now, I want to make something clear. Feminine energy isn't about being passive, submissive, or dimming your light. It's about returning to the version of you that is deeply connected to her intuition, softness, emotional depth, and inner knowing. It's the energy of allowing, receiving, and attracting, not chasing, proving, or performing. Masculine energy is drawn to contrast to a woman who is grounded in her feminine, a woman who knows how to lean back, not because she's lazy or indifferent, but because she trusts her worth enough to receive love without forcing it. Most women today are operating heavily in their masculine energy, often without even realizing it. You've probably been taught to hustle, to go after what you want, to always be in control. That works well in your career, but in your love life, it creates imbalance. Magnetic feminine energy means you walk into a room and don't beg for attention, you draw it without trying. It's the way you make eye contact without chasing validation. It's how you take care of your mind, body, and soul, because you want to, not because you think it will make a man love you more. It's your ability to be in the present moment, fully engaged in your own joy, rather than anxiously scanning the room or the app for who's coming next. When you embody this energy, you don't need to convince a man of your value. Your energy shows it. You stop asking, how do I keep his interest? And start asking, does this man even have the capacity to meet me where I am? This shift changes everything. You stop chasing emotionally unavailable men because your energy simply doesn't resonate with that anymore. Your standards rise. You become less reactive, more discerning, and beautifully detached from outcomes. You let him show you through consistent effort that he's worthy of access to you. And the right man, he feels this shift in you instantly. He feels safe to step into his own masculine energy, to pursue, to provide, to protect. He doesn't feel tested, judged, or outperformed. He feels invited, not into your life as a savior, but as a partner. That's the beauty of magnetic feminine energy. It doesn't just make you more attractive. It makes your life feel more aligned, more peaceful, more powerful. You don't just attract love. You receive it in a way that nourishes you, not depletes you. So ask yourself, where in your life are you still forcing, controlling, or proving? What would shift if you let go of that and trusted that what's meant for you will feel natural, respectful, and mutual? When you become this version of yourself, you don't just hope love finds you. You know it's inevitable. Let's talk about something that silently kills attraction, drains your energy, and pushes away the very thing you want most. Attachment to outcomes. This second key, detaching from the outcome, is what actually opens the space for healthy, aligned love to enter your life. But it's also one of the hardest lessons to master, especially when your heart is genuinely invested. We've all been there. You meet someone, you feel a spark, the connection seems promising, and almost immediately your mind jumps into the future. Is he the one? Will this finally go somewhere? What if I mess it up? Without realizing it, you're no longer present. You're now performing, analyzing, and emotionally over-investing in a scenario that hasn't even had a chance to unfold naturally. Attachment to outcome creates tension. It creates expectation. And expectation leads to disappointment, not because people are always letting you down, but because you are trying to control what wasn't yours to control in the first place. Love cannot breathe under pressure. Attraction doesn't bloom in a space filled with fear, timelines, or fantasy projections. Detaching from the outcome doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop gripping so tightly that you strangle the process. You learn to show up fully, authentically, and presently without trying to manipulate how it turns out. You trust yourself to handle whatever outcome happens. That trust in yourself, that's where your real power lives. When you truly detach, something magical happens. You become more attractive. Why? Because you're no longer sending out desperate energy. You're not auditioning for love. You're not emotionally overextending to secure someone else's attention. You're simply showing up as yourself, whole, confident, and open. Not because you're waiting for someone to choose you, but because you've already chosen yourself. High-value men feel this difference immediately. A woman who is detached from the outcome doesn't try to rush things. She doesn't obsess over the label or the timeline. She's not playing games, but she's also not available for crumbs. Her peace, her joy, and her sense of self are not dependent on whether or not someone texts her back, calls her tonight, or defines the relationship on her preferred schedule. She's willing to walk away from what doesn't feel right, and that energy commands respect. You're allowed to have desires. You're allowed to want commitment, love, partnership. But the key is this: want it, don't need it. Needing it creates scarcity. Wanting it from a place of fullness creates expansion. Think about it this way. If you plant a seed and keep digging it up every day to see if it's growing, you're killing it with your own impatience. Love works the same way. Detachment is planting the seed, watering it with healthy effort, then letting the sun and time do their job. The men who are aligned with your energy will rise to meet it. The ones who don't, they were never meant to grow with you. So ask yourself, am I showing up with presence or with pressure? Am I enjoying the moment or trying to fast forward into a fantasy? Your ability to stay grounded in the now, to hold space for possibility without demanding certainty, that's the shift that calls in the man of your dreams. Not by chasing him, but by creating an energy so clear, so calm, and so confident that he can't help but be drawn in. That's the power of detachment. That's how you attract more by needing less. Here's something you may not have heard before. If you want an emotionally available man, you have to be emotionally available first. And I don't mean that in a surface level, I'm open to love kind of way. I mean real, deep, vulnerable, emotional availability. The kind that starts with radical self-honesty. A lot of women say they're ready for real love, but deep down there's fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being rejected, fear of losing independence, fear of choosing wrong again. So what happens? You stay guarded. You keep your heart half closed, waiting for a man to prove he's safe before you let him in. But here's the twist. Emotionally available men can feel that wall. And if they sense you're not fully open, they won't lean in. Not because they're not interested, but because they've done the work. They're no longer chasing people who don't meet them at the same emotional depth. Emotional availability starts with your relationship with yourself. Can you sit with your own feelings without numbing, distracting, or projecting them onto someone else? Can you express your needs, not from a place of fear, but from a place of clarity? Can you allow someone to see the real you, not the curated, filtered, high-achieving version, but the messy, imperfect, vulnerable woman underneath? That's what intimacy actually is, being fully seen without performing. But that level of intimacy can only happen when you give yourself permission to go there first. Let's be real. It's easy to point fingers and say men aren't emotionally available. And sometimes that's true. But if you keep attracting emotionally unavailable men over and over, it's time to look inward, because something in your energy is resonating with that pattern, and the shift begins with you. Sometimes emotional unavailability looks like having high walls. Sometimes it looks like chasing people who are inconsistent. Like, because their chaos feels familiar. Sometimes it shows up as over-functioning in relationships. Constantly fixing, managing, giving more than you're receiving. Because deep down, receiving real love feels foreign, maybe even unsafe. Healing that means getting brutally honest with yourself about what love has meant to you. Up until now, have you associated love with abandonment, unpredictability, or self-sacrifice? If so, of course, emotional closeness feels risky. Of course, your nervous system wants to protect you. But the good news, you can rewrite that story. You attract what you are aligned with. If you are closed, you'll attract people who stay distant. If you are confused, you'll attract mixed signals. But when you become emotionally available, when you stop hiding, when you stop pretending, when you stop trying to earn love and start receiving it, you attract someone who's also done that same inner work. You get to teach your body, your heart, your mind that safe, available love is not only possible, it's your new standard. But you must create safety within yourself first. You must be the one who says, I'm ready to be seen. I'm ready to feel. I'm ready to connect deeply, even if it's scary. That declaration changes your energy. That kind of inner clarity is magnetic to the right man. The man who wants not just your presence, but your emotional truth. He won't be perfect, but he will be present. He'll want to know how you feel, not because he needs to fix it, but because he values your inner world. That's emotional intimacy. That's what creates secure, lasting connection. And it all starts with you. One of the biggest turning points in love is learning how to communicate your standards clearly, confidently, and without fear. This is key Dine 4, and it separates women who settle from women who are chosen by emotionally mature, high-value men. But here's the catch. Most women have standards. They're just afraid to voice them. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that having standards makes us difficult, that speaking our truth will scare him off. That asking for more will make us seem needy, demanding, or too much. So we shrink, we stay silent. We hope he figures it out on his own. But let me ask you this, when has silence ever protected your heart? The truth is, high standards don't push the right man away. They filter the wrong ones out. And communicating those standards isn't rude, aggressive, or ungrateful. It's respectful not just to him, but to yourself. Here's the shift. When your standards are rooted in fear, they come off as ultimatums. But when they're rooted in self-worth, they come off as clarity. And emotionally available men are drawn to clarity. They want to know what you value. They respect a woman who knows what she will and will not accept, because it tells them she's not looking for any man. She's waiting for the right one. You don't need to explain or over-justify your standards. You don't need to apologize for wanting consistency, communication, emotional depth, or effort. Those are basics in a healthy relationship, not bonuses. So when you express what you need, don't do it with fear in your voice. Do it from a place of quiet confidence, knowing that anyone who's intimidated by your standards was never qualified to meet them. It's also important to understand that timing matters. You don't need to lay out your entire relationship rulebook on date one. Communicating your standards happens over time, through your behavior, your boundaries, and your responses to what you're being shown. For example, if someone is inconsistent, your standard might sound like, I really value consistency and reliability. If that's something we're not aligned on, I totally respect that, but I know what I need to feel safe in a connection. Calm, clear, unapologetic. Notice the energy behind that. There's no blame, no pressure, just truth. That's the sweet spot. You're not trying to control the other person. You're simply offering them the chance to meet you where you are. And if they can't, you release them with grace instead of staying in a connection that forces you to lower your standards just to keep the peace. The fear of being alone is often what keeps women stuck in almost relationships that don't meet their needs. But what if you flipped that fear? What if you started to fear settling more than being single? Because every time you compromise your truth for temporary attention, you move further from the love you actually deserve. The moment you begin communicating your standards without fear is the moment you shift into self-respect. That energy doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It simply states, this is who I am. This is what I need. And I'm not afraid to wait for the right match. That woman, she doesn't just attract better love. She sustains it. So stop editing yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You were never meant to be quiet about your worth. The man who is ready for you will see your standards not as a threat, but as a roadmap guiding him closer to the real you. This final key might challenge everything you've ever believed about love. But once it clicks, it changes your entire approach to relationships. Key zone 5 is this. Choose alignment over effort. Let love flow instead of forcing it. Because the truth is, when something is right, it doesn't require you to abandon yourself to make it work. We've been taught that love is supposed to be hard, that you have to fight for it, fix it, prove yourself worthy of it. But that belief has created generations of women stuck in emotional labor, overgiving, overperforming, and calling it commit. Real love, healthy, soul-aligned love, doesn't ask you to exhaust yourself just to feel chosen. It meets you where you are. It feels natural. It flows. Now, this doesn't mean there won't be challenges or effort required. All meaningful relationships require emotional investment, but there's a difference between mutual effort and one-sided struggle. If you're constantly trying to make it work, trying to get him to meet you halfway, trying to be enough, trying to decode mixed signals, that's not flow, that's friction. And friction isn't sustainable. Alignment feels different. Alignment is when both people are moving in the same direction with shared values, energy, and intentions. You don't have to force conversations, question their interest, or walk on eggshells. You're not anxiously guessing, you're grounded in knowing. There's a rhythm, a reciprocity, a calmness that replaces the chaos you might have mistaken for passion in the past. You know you're in alignment when the relationship supports your peace, not your anxiety. When you feel like more of yourself around them, not less. When you're inspired to grow, not shrink. That's when you stop gripping so tightly and start letting things unfold organically. Sometimes the reason love feels hard isn't because you're doing anything wrong. It's because you're trying to align with someone whose path simply doesn't match yours. And the more you try to force it, the more out of alignment you become with yourself. That's why letting go of what isn't flowing is actually an act of love. Not just for them, but for you. The most magnetic thing about a woman in alignment is that she doesn't chase love. She attracts it by simply being who she is. She knows that anything that requires her to shrink, silence herself, or second-guess her intuition is not aligned with her highest good. She trusts that the right relationship won't feel like a never-ending emotional negotiation. It will feel like coming home. When you prioritize alignment over effort, you begin to filter your decisions differently. You ask better questions. Not, how do I get him to like me? But does this connection reflect who I truly am? Not, am I doing enough? But am I being met emotionally, mentally, spiritually? You start to tune into how your body feels when you're around them. Is there tension, pressure, confusion? Or is there peace, curiosity, ease? Letting it flow doesn't mean being passive. It means being available to what's real and unavailable for what's not. It means choosing the connections that feel expansive over the ones that feel draining. It means recognizing that love isn't something you have to earn. It's something that flows naturally when two people are aligned in energy, intention, and emotional maturity. So as you move forward, I want you to remember this. Stop forcing. Stop fixing. Stop trying to fit where you don't belong. When it's aligned, it will feel safe, clear, and mutual. It won't require you to overthink every word or sacrifice your peace to hold it together. Love flows where it's meant to grow. And when you're in alignment with yourself, the love that finds you will reflect that. So now that we've uncovered all 5 keys, from embodying magnetic feminine energy to letting love flow through true alignment, I want to leave you with this. You are not here to chase love, fix love, or prove yourself worthy of love. You are here to receive love that already matches your truth, your wholeness, your growth. So many women are exhausted not because they're broken, but because they've spent years trying to earn what should have been mutual from the start. You've done the inner work. You've reflected, healed, grown, and now you are ready for something deeper. Not just in a man, but in yourself. That's what this video was about. Not just attracting the man of your dreams, but becoming the version of you who no longer settles for less than you deserve. The woman who doesn't confuse attention with affection or chaos with chemistry. The woman who knows that she doesn't need to twist herself into a version that's more likable, more chill, more low maintenance just to be loved. Because real love honors the real you. Let that truth land for a moment. The next steps from here aren't about doing more. They're about being more honest with yourself. What do you really want? What have you been tolerating? What parts of you still believe that deep love might not happen for you? It's time to rewrite that narrative. Because love isn't reserved for the lucky, the flawless, or the ones who've never made mistakes. It's for the woman who dares to believe that she can be fully loved as she is, who stops trying to convince the wrong ones to see her value, and starts choosing herself so clearly that only aligned love remains. So here's what I want you to do next. Go back through each of the 5 keys. Take a moment and reflect. Which one hit you the hardest? Which one do you know deep down you've been avoiding, shrinking from, or silently hoping would just work itself out? Start there. That's your growth edge. That's your starting line. Maybe it's feminine energy and learning to trust your magnetism instead of trying to control. Maybe it's detachment, releasing the fear of what if it doesn't work out and returning to your peace. Maybe it's emotional availability, getting raw with yourself about where you're still guarded. Or maybe it's having the courage to communicate your standards, even if your voice shakes. Whatever it is, commit to one small shift this week. Not for anyone else, for you. Journal it, speak it out loud, claim it. Because when you start showing up differently, your world recalibrates to meet you there. People feel it, opportunities shift, relationships evolve. Why? Because you're no longer vibrating from lack. You're radiating alignment. And if this message resonated with you, don't let it stop at motivation. Let it become momentum. Comment below with the key that impacted you most. Share it with a friend who's ready to raise her standards. And make sure you're subscribed, because this is just the beginning. I'll be diving deeper into each of these principles in future videos, with real talk, practical tools, and heart-led strategies for becoming the woman who attracts extraordinary love. This is your season to stop settling and start receiving. You are not too much. You are not too late. You are not asking for too much. You're just remembering who you are and the man who's truly meant for you. He will recognize you by your energy, not by how hard you try. So let love find you in your truth, in your softness, in your power. The best is not behind you. It's on its way.